Good morning, everybody. My name is Phil Ike, and joining me today, Jeff Coney, all the way from Sturgis. Jeff, good morning.
Morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to talk to you. We talked a little bit before I hit record, and I'm really excited to hear about Sturgis as a community, but also about how RRC fits in there and how what kind of things you guys are working on. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Sturgis. Imagine I've never been to Sturgis. I don't know anything about the community at all. Give me a quick 101.
Okay, so everybody describes Michigan by the hand. So we are at the bottom of the state, middle of the state. Our borders literally touch Indiana. So we have a long drive to Traverse City or to see Lake Huron. But if you don't know much about us, we are known as the Electric City. So back in the late 1800s, they got their own municipality power source here. A few years later, we actually opened a hydroelectric dam, which is still operational today. So it's a number of miles away, but that pipes into the city. So we have our own electric division here. The Electric City is kind of our call phrase. It's our who we are. This summer, we're actually doing a large scale lighting development downtown. We're going to light all of our buildings up. We're going to create an electric alley, which is going to have light strings through between different buildings. We're creating this new food truck area. So we're really trying to ramp up our downtown. We've had some really good developments over the last few years. We have one of the RV industries moved up to Michigan, which is kind of a big deal because they love Indiana, but they've crossed the border. And now we have one very large building, and they have plans to expand in the future. So we're about a little over 11,000 people. Got an old school downtown, and then we spread out, like most cities do. But we're tall and skinny right now. Can't go any further south. We obviously hit the Indiana line. We can't go much further north. There's some lakes above us that are blocking us in. So if and when we do continue our expansion, we'll probably go east and west. So lots of farmland up here, lots of flat irrigated land around us. But we've got some really exciting things going on here in Sturgis. So
very cool. You're also, along with all the other cool things that you have going on in Sturgis, you're also a certified redevelopment ready community. So congratulations with that.
Thank you.
Take me all the way back before even entering this certification process. What was it about Sturgis that you said, hey, becoming a certified RRC community would help us? Why did you originally reach out?
So RRC started, I want to say 2017, 2018 is when the city of Sturgis got involved. I could be off on that date. And we had an assistant city manager at the time who had taken lead on it. And because of the crossover between building and planning, our community development director took over for a while. And so there was this balance and this dance that was going back and forth for a while. Really what it comes down to is we don't have enough staff. And so it kind of got backburnered for a while. They had done a number of things at the beginning. I started here at the city about 3 years ago, and this was my number one goal. The reason we wanted it is because, honestly, everybody is looking for funds. And RRC opens up a number of different pots of money that we can access. So that was number one, just being honest. The second one is ease of consistency between municipalities in different areas. We're going to have something fairly similar to another community that's RRC certified. So it'll make it easier for developers and community members that want to do business. They may see this somewhere else, so they'll have an idea of how it works. So accessibility and consistency, we wanted that. The other thing, and I think a lot of us are trying to do this, is we're trying to simplify the process. Because this can be very cumbersome, and either you are a developer or you're trying to become one and stumbling because it's difficult. So streamlining, and I think that's the heart of RRC, is to streamline, simplify, make things accessible. And so that was my number one task when I started here and worked nonstop. My RRC, my rep that I was working through the state has been fantastic. That poor lady has gotten so many emails from me. But I had a good foundation because of the work the assistant city manager did and then the director of community development had done before I got here. Really, it was just refining and using the library. The RRC library is wonderful. It's a great place to build from. And what happened with us is because there was a decent platform for me to build off of, and the RRC, the resources through the state and then the library, I was able to compound things pretty fast. we were in a very unique environment where our essentials we got right to our essentials and only had two more steps to get to certified. And we're actively pursuing those two. So we hit essentials, I want to say, in like December or January. We then accessed our technical assistance funds while we finished getting things to our planning commission and to our city commission for updates to fit RRC's vision, and then immediately became certified within, I think, 3 months. So we were only essentials for about 3 months, accessed our TA money, and then we were stamp certified shortly after. And we've been certified over a year now, right around a year mark. And yeah, we have used technical assistance funds. We have used site readiness funds. We're able to check that RRC box for applications when our downtown businesses are submitting. Well, we've also used there was another technical assistance fund that came through downtown. So it was like $5,000 or $3,000 not that long ago. And I think our RRC helped us be more, we're on the radar for state funds. So that's kind of an overarching trajectory of how we got where we are.
I love so much of what you said, especially in regards to being a relatively smaller community. I mean, 11,000. It's not small, but relatively so. And I think a lot of similar sized communities are in similar situations as what you were at the beginning of. We don't necessarily have the resources to do all the things that we want to do, and the processes that we have in place are maybe a little bit tricky to navigate, and so now we have even less capacity to do it. And it sounds like RRC and the entire process really allowed you as a community to kind of level up your capacity, and not only access to resources, but also to streamline those processes to say we have systems in place that are quality, that are recognizable from other developers who might have projects across the state and say, oh, I've worked with RRC communities before and it was awesome. Sturgis is now on my radar when maybe it wasn't before. Is that accurate to describe?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that even our technical assistance funds that we applied for and were granted, that is the continuation of this streamlined process. We're revamping our entire zoning ordinance and our community development website so that you can step on page one and you can have a much easier journey, because anybody who's worked in a zoning ordinance knows that you go to this section here and then you hop to that section there. And, you can easily get lost in those. And if you don't know how to navigate them, they're very cumbersome. And so in the spirit of our RC, our revamp is update, get current language, be attentive to the changing environment, but also how accessible is this? How easy can you navigate this? Do I have to send you 12 links so that you can answer one question, or can I send you one? So yes, RRC, the idea behind it, we are just continuing that moving forward.
I love this because you talk about development and redevelopment and ordinances and zoning, and it sounds to the average person like it sounds okay. They're going to do this thing and I'll never hear about it again, and it's just kind of this backroom local government stuff. But like when we were talking about earlier, being attractive to other developers, making it easy for them, you get to check that box and say we are legitimate and we've gone through this process. It really sounds like this is also serving as a marketing tool for your community by saying, hey, we're looking at our ordinances. We've got this website. One click and we can answer all of your questions. And if I was a developer, that puts your community on my radar right away.
Oh, absolutely. That is the hope. And the other side of that coin is just being a community member. It can be difficult to find out, where can I put my doghouse? How far does my fence have to be from this? And so those zoning ordinance changes, that updated platform, is going to make it a lot easier for, the older couple who's lived here for the last 20 years and they want to put a shed in back. Mm-hmm. Well, how do you explain it properly? What's the square footage? Now you have to have a building design, and it can get really, really confusing when most people think this is a simple question. Why can't you just answer it? The updates that we're making, the developer's going to benefit from the big scale, but from the small scale, mom and dad are going to benefit when they go, I want to put a shed in, and we're able to navigate that much quicker with them as well. So
I no more running to the local Facebook group and asking the question, "Hey,
Yep.
can I have a chicken coop?" And then you get 17 different answers from all different people who have all different levels of information. And I think to a certain extent, you can't blame them, because where do I find those ordinances? And when I get there, how do I understand what is actually written there? It's easy to hop on my Facebook group, and it doesn't necessarily get me closer to an answer. But if you've got a really great resource, communication between government and citizens becomes so much easier, because you can just say, "Oh, go to that website and type in chicken coop," and you're going to get exactly the answer that you need directly from the people you need that answer from.
Absolutely. And part of the RRC process is making us available as, as the liaison from the city. So if you have a question and maybe you don't navigate the internet very well, there are phone numbers on everything. You can call into the offices. And again, maybe you don't want to jump on your Facebook page. Maybe you don't want to try and navigate an ordinance. Call the office. Our job is to help you get the answer you need. I can tell you one thing, but it's better if I can tell you and show you. And that's
Mhm.
why that easy, accessible platform is going to be so much help for
Oh,
us.
beautiful. Did you get funding through RSC for the website? Or
Yes.
okay.
So technical assistance funds are it's a 2-for-1. We're working on our zoning ordinance, but then we're also working on our community development page itself. The page will actually have what we call our development guide, and it runs you through, whether you're a veteran in the field or first day playing, it runs you through the entire process of doing a development, zoning, planning, building. Where do you get your permits? Who is going to do inspections? What's the department to talk to for wastewater? Where is it coming from? How do I find a map that tells me what I can and can't do? Permitted uses, special land uses. So this interactive website is going to have access to all of our zoning, building, planning, but it's also going to have this development guide built into it so that they can navigate through the process and say, I want to rebuild my family's home that burnt down, or I want to move in here and put a shoe factory in. It won't matter what your size or project is, because you'll just go step by step. If it doesn't apply, you'll move to the next step.
Mm.
And each step will have contacts, it'll have hyperlinks, it'll have forms available. So RRC saw this when we asked for technical assistance. And because these two play so well hand in hand, they kind of 2-for-1 us on it. So it's two separate projects, but I don't think either one really succeeds without the other.
Mhm. This really supports what we were talking about earlier about RSC Toolkit really increasing the capacity of a community to do the things it knows it needs to do. And I mean, having a website like this, looking at zoning and ordinances, it's not a novel concept, but a lot of times it just kind of stops in city hall, because you don't have the person who can do that because they're doing 17 other things, or you don't have the person with decades of experience looking at zoning and ordinances, when that's really what you need: somebody to say, do this, and okay, we can do that. And this process, it sounds like, enables those ideas to actually become a reality, and then that's when the life of your community can change. Talk to me about the access to the site readiness funds, and what you guys want to do with that.
So site readiness, once we became certified, we have a handful of parcels of interest, but one specifically that we have that's catching some momentum. So we went ahead and applied for geotechnical services. They had environmental work. They did some soft cost architectural work and layouts. Can this site do what they want it to do? Will it sustain the number of people that may be there? And really the test is what can go here and thrive. And we secured the maximum amount on two separate rounds of requests. And that is all coming to the surface here in a few weeks. We should actually see the renderings. They should make their way out to public. And that really helped the developer because, like anybody, you have a great dream, but you don't want to put a bunch of your money up front if you don't know it'll fly. And so that's why that funding is there. So they can do the math. They can figure out what'll fit, how big it'll be, what is the parking standard, where can I get off-street parking at, what is the need in the community, and then also look at the ground itself. So there's no big surprises when they start turning dirt and they find out there's 6 old foundations. And so my excavation just tripled in cost because now I got to pull these out and backfill and compact. So that money that came through, I think each year we will find a project to apply for, because this is one of the big hangups we run into in our community. Is it's that initial upfront cost. Somebody may be willing to spend, hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars on a development, but they're really hesitant on that first 40, that first $30,000, because they are gambling it. Because again, you may find out there's all these foundations. You may find out there's environmental issues. You may find out there's not enough parking, and you can't negotiate those things, and you can't get that money back. So that site readiness funds, they are fantastic, and anybody who can qualify for them, I know you have a site in your community that's privately owned or publicly owned that you can use that money to get that developer who's interested just past that first $40,000, and then now they're spending money on something that will be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say exactly the same thing. Like, whoever you are watching this or listening to this, I know that in the next 60 seconds, you can rattle off at least 3 sites within your downtown area or your city center that you've been staring at for the last 5 to 10 years going, man, we really got to do something with that. But that first step, that first hurdle, like it's really hard to get past that. But if you have those funds and you can say, hey, developers, like, this thing is ready to go for you, I mean, that's just another little piece of bait on that hook, and to say, hey, we're a community who's willing to help you out because you can help us out, and that means everything.
Absolutely. Yes, it is. That is a fantastic tool. And again, use it. Everybody needs to apply for it, because I know you got a project. You know you have a project. You just got to look out the window, and there will be.
Yeah. If you're not a redevelopment ready community right now, and you've got to be. Jeff, from your experience, what would you say to a community who has heard about RRC, or they've got friends in another community who is, and they've kind of been exploring, but they haven't fully committed yet? What would you say to them?
It can be overwhelming when you start looking at all the boxes to check. But I really think that the resources that we were given are, you just need to go to the library, like, read what they're describing, what they're asking for, but then go to the library and see what this physically looks like. Mm-hmm. Because you might find that you are doing some of this already, but you formatted it differently. So you can take what you've created, or you have on, in your arsenal, bring it over, and then contact those communities who are in the library. I had so many other municipalities just share data, send me Word documents, send me PDFs, because they knew what it was like to be in the trenches, and they wanted to see you succeed too. So hit up those groups that are in the library, and most of them are going to send you a Word document. Change name, change date, take your data, input it in there, utilize that format, and just one. I mean, my mom always said, how do you cut the forest down? One tree at a time. Mm-hmm. One tree at a time. So go through, read them over, do the library, and then pick your tree and knock it down one at a time, and you'll get there.
I love it. Similar situation like Michigan Main Street, because like going through the process, looking at the outside, it can look like a lot, and to a certain extent, it is, because it's worth it, and it's going to make substantial foundational change in how your community operates, and that's going to take some work. But looking back on how it increases your capacity, and like you said, sometimes it's as simple. It looks intimidating, but it's as simple as just putting Sturgis in that blank instead of something else. And yeah, I'm really excited for you and for your community. I've never been to Sturgis, but this conversation is definitely making me want to drive down and check out what you guys are doing. Jeff, I want to thank you so much for the time you took today. I wish you the best. I wish Sturgis the best. I'm really excited to see what you guys have in store for us in the future.
Well, thank you for having me. Yeah. And like I've said, since I started here, wait 2 years and see what we look like. We are nothing like we were 2 years ago. And I don't imagine we'll be what we are now in 2 years from now. It's just going to keep improving and keep changing. So there's need, there's want, and there's resources. So, let's go.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeff.
Thank you.